I'm going to welcome everyone to the regular board meeting for March the 18th of the Sunrise School Division Board of Trustees. Welcome to everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and I'm almost going to call the meeting to order as we're just waiting on some technical difficulties. All right, I'm going to call our meeting back to order. Please, we're going to have O Canada by Whitemouth School. Please stand if you can do so. Thank you to Whitemouth School. Much appreciated. We're going to have our treaty acknowledgement. I'm going to ask Trustee Boyson to read our treaty acknowledgement, please.
We acknowledge the traditional land upon which Sunrise School Division resides as Treaty 1 territory. We honor our partnership with Canada's original peoples and respect the gifts of Indigenous history, culture, and language. We commit to moving forward in partnership with our communities in a spirit of collaboration and reconciliation.
Thank you, Lorraine. Before we get underway, my name is Paul Magnon and I'm the board chair. And in the room with us as we have Superintendent Reed, we have Secretary Treasurer Thiessen, we have Assistant Superintendent Fieldberg, we have Trustee Smith, Trustee Rowan, Trustee Dent, Trustee Nickel, Trustee Rowan, Trustee Wilson, Trustee Boyson, and Trustee Harris, as well as we have Sarah Scott that provides support to the board. And in the room tonight we also have Dave Ogren. He's the principal at Centennial School, and Dave will be making a presentation. So, Dave, just for you, for the million people to watch online, is that when you make your presentation, just listen. You'll be able to be seen by the million that are watching. Can we have the adoption of the agenda? So be it resolved, the board approve our agenda. Need a move in a second. A move by Trustee Nickel and a second by Trustee Wilson. Any questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. People are joining us. We vote electronically. and Sarah helps us out with that. And as I was talking, I was the only one that didn't vote, so it passed 9-0. Thank you for that. I was just about to say, Sarah, what's going on? And she pointed it out to me. Chair's comments are a reminder to send all of our questions to jody.thiessen@sunrisesd.ca. Put your name and your address of the sender included in your questions. At a question period, we'll go ahead and try to get to as many of your questions that you have. We normally share a story, and we're going to go ahead and do that, but I am going to share a story with the public and the board. Is that it's unfortunate that I tell you that a former principal, a former administrator with us, Lawrence Ham, passed away. He worked at SCI and at Oakbank Elementary, and unfortunately he passed away. And he was a good one for us. Lots of work that Lawrence did in the Springfield area schools, and we're going to miss him. On a positive note, let's share some stories. Anybody want to share? Trustee Dent.
Sure. SCI partnered with the RM of Springfield Fire and Rescue. They performed some training exercises with 4 of our classrooms, presenting various scenarios and volunteers who are trained on how to deal with the various situations that were presented. The training sessions ran from 9 a.m. to 2:15 p.m. on March the 10th. And some feedback that we got from Brian Madsen, who is the Deputy Fire Chief. He stated that it was a wonderful day and commented on how amazing that our students were, and so that he extended his thank you to the school for providing that opportunity. So I too want to thank the Fire Hall for opening their doors to our students for this opportunity, as well as thank our leadership team at SCI for coordinating the event, and thank the students for being such great ambassadors of SCI. We also had a fishing derby that had occurred on last Thursday. So I want to thank Dana Walmsley from Manola School for coordinating that event. It occurred near Lockport for some of our students from Manola, SMS, and Dugald. Judging by some of the pictures that I've seen, the event was enjoyed by all that attended. And then a couple of upcoming events. So we have Enola Community Club will be hosting a dance for grades 3 to 8 on Friday, March the 28th from 7 to 10. OBE, so Oakbank Elementary Playground Improvement Committee, will be hosting a movie night on April the 11th at Oakbank Elementary. So doors will open at 6, with the first movie starting at 6:30. They'll also be holding a 50-50 draw, 1 ticket for $10 or 3 for $20. The draw will be June the 19th. And lastly, report cards came out last week. So check those backpacks for parents that may not have seen a report card yet. Student-led conferences will be occurring this week, so connect with your schools and see all the wonderful projects and learning that your child has undertaken this past term.
Thanks, Trustee Dent. Trustee Nicol?
Even though it wasn't, I read much in March, but we had in Whitemouth we had a famous author, Ryan James Black. He presented the grade 5 to 8 class on his new book, The Dark Times of Nibble, Nottingham. And while Enola went ice fishing on Thursday, Whitemouth went ice fishing on Tuesday to the Balsam Bay High School Fishing Derby, and there was a number of other schools that were there, not only from Sunrise, I think from other divisions too.
Thanks, Trustee Nicol. Trustee Wilson?
On Tuesday, March 11th, I attended the Centennial School Parent Council meeting. They are a very active parent council. In conjunction with Parent Teacher on March 20th, they are holding a bake sale and a baking silent auction. There was also discussion about the upcoming book fair, the divisional pact meeting on April 24th, Mrs. Lucci's muffin making for the breakfast program, and the town council survey regarding the road safety of Centennial students. In addition to many school activities such as the drawing club and archery, Manitoba Theatre for Young People performed Blue Beads and Blueberries on March 17th. A group of grade 5 and 6 students will be attending Art Speak at the end of March. This highlights only a very few of the school activities.
Thanks, Trustee Wilson. Anyone? Trustee Rowan?
I'd like to give a huge shout out to the SCI Junior Achievers Club. For anyone that's unfamiliar with the Junior Achievers Club, it's an entrepreneurial club that takes students through the process of coming up with a company and a product to sell. The students then create the business logo, produce the product, and do all the marketing. The SCI Junior Achievers Club is made up primarily of grade 10 and 11 students. I had the opportunity to chat with some of the students at the St. Patel Market on Saturday, where they let me smell the 4 signature fragrances they'd created. I was quite impressed with the product and bought a bottle of their Moonlit Desire. The market on Saturday featured schools from around Manitoba. If you're interested in checking out the Junior Achievers, including our students from SCI, they have another market coming up on Saturday, March 29th at KP Mall. If you're looking for something to do this Saturday, I encourage you to stop by Ecole du Gold School, who will be hosting the Manitoba Esports Brawlhalla Provincial Playoffs. Tournament play will start at 10 a.m. with the grand finals commencing at 3:30 p.m. This year's event is expected to be larger than last year. In preparation for Saturday's playoffs, CJOB will be interviewing some Ecole du Gold School students on Wednesday evening. This interview will not be live and will be aired sometime after Wednesday evening. And finally, I'd like to wish our staff and students an enjoyable and restful spring break. You've worked hard to get to this point and deserve this much needed break.
Thanks, Trustee Rowan. We have Trustee Smith.
Okay, a few things. For Beausejour early years, they were excited to announce their staff increases. So they were able to increase a new staff member. She speaks French, and they had got her straight out of university. So they're very excited about that one. They were increasing their assistant principal to a 0.7, I believe. They're also talking about changing their breaks, so like their recess times, so adjusting the recess times. They're thinking about doing that. They haven't quite determined how they're going to do that yet. I was actually interested to find out that a number of the staff are actually trained in assist training. So I don't know if anyone knows what that is. I'm trained in assist training, but that's actually applied suicide intervention training. And they're actually trained in other mental health training too at the school. So I was actually quite interested that some of our staff is trained in that. Moving along to Ecole Edward Schreier, they have the Spring Fever dance on Wednesday. That's for grade 9 and up. Parent conferences are this week, and also they have dismissal this Friday, but if you're looking to pick up your kids, they are being dismissed from the Beausejour Sportsplex because they have the staff and student hockey game. So if you're picking your kids up, they're going to be at the Sportsplex. And moving along to Gillis. Gillis actually has their book fair this week on the 20th and 21st, and also if you're doing the Easter Candy fundraiser, they're due on the 24th. And that is everything for me.
Thanks, Trustee Smith. Anyone else? So the only thing I'm going to add about Parview School is that they do have parent, student, teacher triad conferences on March 20th and 21st. I'd like to see as many of them, many parents get out there and book your conferences. So with the school, it'd be great to see. But thanks for that, for everybody, about sharing a story. We're going to move on, so I'm going to turn this over to Superintendent Reid. Is that we have a presentation, and you can introduce, please.
Of course, we're welcoming Mr. Dave Ogren, Principal at Centennial School. And if I can just take a second to remind the board, we toured Centennial School with Mr. Ogren this past fall, and we did that just before lunch. And just want to remind everyone that as we headed over to lunch, there was a bit of a buzz and excitement about what we saw at Centennial School. And you know, certainly I think the board was impressed with the leadership that Mr. Ogren was providing to the staff and students, and so another opportunity to hear about some of the great things going on at Centennial School. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'll do my best not to ruin that. I'm going to stick to script as well, because if I do, I'll be 10 minutes, and if I go off script, then we have no idea how long this will take, and you'll all hate me, and I will ruin that. So if you want to put the slideshow on for me, please. The PowerPoint? Yeah. Perfect. And if you go back one slide, it'll just be the intro. There we go. Perfecto. So in 2023-24, we prioritized the emotional and social well-being of our students. And at the time, we decided that was going to be a one-year goal because we felt that we would do all of the learning that we could probably reasonably do within the 1 year. And so we did decide to change goals for last year. We have kept a whole lot of the pieces that we learned about in order to support kids because they still need that support, probably more so than they ever have. So that's continuing. If you go on to the next slide. Our process when we come up with a school goal is to look at school data and then to talk as teachers about what we're noticing in classrooms so that we have the observation that teachers are making, and then we try to come to a consensus about where our efforts should be spent in our own learning. And it's always kind of a risky gambit for me because I throw it out there to teachers and then I hope that we're going to come to consensus. I've been surprised a few times, but so far, until this past year, we've been successful in that. And this past year I wasn't there for our goal setting piece, and when I came back to the school after it had been done and reviewed the notes, what I found is that we had 3 areas that we wanted to focus on. And the data said that writing was an area of relative weakness, but the graph that's up there is the actual graph of data with the blue showing the year before and the brown showing our last year. So you can see that most things were growing in some way and everything's a little bit high. So it was an area of relative weakness. Reading was an area that teachers felt we should focus on as well. And then there was kind of an independence and self-motivation goal that people felt should be there, which was a bit of a continuation of our mental health goal. And so I tried to smush it all together into something, and what I created is on the next slide. It's wordy, it's big, but it successfully put together sort of 3 ideas. Our students will cultivate an identity as writers, actively engage in developing their ability to make use of the writing process, take responsibility for completing assignments with accuracy, and demonstrate ongoing improvement in the ability to express themselves with clarity, creativity, and purpose. It was a writing goal. And if you flip to the next slide, teachers focused on developing kids' writing skills. But flip the slide. I noticed that that wasn't really where teachers' interests lay. They were teaching writing, and they were experimenting with writing, and they were trying to improve kids' writing, but that's not what they were learning the most about. Instead, the divisional literacy direction was really intriguing and concerning to our kindergarten to grade 2 teachers, and they were learning at divisional PDs about that, and they were asking for Natalie to come into their classrooms to help them learn about that, and that's where their learning was really focused. And then my grade 3 and 4 teachers were really interested in the literacy shift that the K-2s were doing, and so they started asking their support services teacher to help them out with doing phonics and phonological awareness, because that was the divisional direction in their classrooms. And then my grade 5-6 teachers were really curious about how this might impact them. And so they started looking at word work strategies based on phonics that they could use, and they advocated for being able to attend literacy at the divisional PD days. And so I realized really quickly that our goal wasn't writing. That's not what we were learning about. What we were really interested in learning about was how to implement phonics and phonological awareness. And Trevor came to visit my school, and I brought that up to him, and he said, "Are you telling me that you want to change your goal?" And I did. So if you flip that, I met with staff and I told them what I had observed, and I asked them if I was accurate. I asked them if we wanted to change what we were doing. And so we came up with a new goal, and our new goal became our staff will learn about and experiment with phonics and word work instruction so that our students will demonstrate progress and improvement in their decoding, fluency, and reading comprehension skills. And that's our current goal now, and that's what we've been working on since January, but I would argue that's what we've been working on since September. So then how will we know that we can be effective in that? We think that there will be improvement shown in report card and progression. I said continuum on their progression data. We think that there will be improvement shown in spelling as shown by Words Their Way, which is what we've been using as our assessment at the start and end of the year. We think that students will report that they are more confident and more able to read. And we think that teacher observations will show that kids are more engaged and more able to read as well. So we'll see what happens with that. We tend to use second term data, so these report cards that are coming out right now, we use that for comparison purposes because we do our goal reflection and goal planning in April of every year. So this becomes the time to compare. And I haven't had a chance to look at the data. I've signed all the report cards and I've sent them all away today, but I haven't had a chance to compile stuff. So I don't know where we're at with that, but we'll be looking at that April 21st. You can change, thank you. So this is what we've done for the year. We started with kindergarten to grade 4 teachers implementing phonics instruction. We have a literacy support teacher that took the place of reading recovery, and she has been providing both in and out of class support for kids. We attended the Divisional PD Day in October, and then the Divisional PD Day in November, we all attended literacy, and it was set up in such a way that different teachers were supposed to go to different things. My 5-6 teachers were supposed to attend numeracy at that day, but they came to me and said, we don't think that that's what we should go to. We think that literacy is what we should be attending. We need to learn more about what we learned in October. And so I advocated for them, and we all ended up in literacy on the 22nd. We changed our school goal on the 7th of January. As a result of that, we updated some of the literacy assessments that we have, and then we learned about a reading program in Teams that helps teachers quickly look at kids' reading fluency and reading decoding skills. And then in March, 2 of the middle years team attended something called structured literacy in the classroom, and they came back wanting to implement a program. So I don't have it on here, but on the 21st, they've carved out an hour of time to meet with support services and with Joanna to talk about what they can do for a program to start immediately after spring break so that third term becomes a more structured. I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go on in this, but a little bit more structured in phonics and phonological awareness and word work and that sort of thing with them. And then in April, I said, we'll look at the data and see what it tells us and see where we're going. And then I always talk about how we spend the money that you give us. And Paul always says to me, make sure you say what SBDM and IAA stand for. So SBDM is school-based decision-making dollars, and IAA is Indigenous Academic Achievement dollars. And we get given those dollars to use to support a variety of things, but generally they're focused on our school goal. And so this year I spent all of that money, plus some extra money, making sure that I had 2 kindergarten classes and 3 grade 1-2 classes. That means that all of my K-2 classes are under 20 students. And I think that lower class sizes, especially in K-2, provides more opportunity for teachers to spend time with groups and individuals in order to provide more individualized instruction. And that supported our original writing goal, but it clearly supports the goal that we've got in place right now. And then we also have a literacy support teacher, and we used to get funding for reading recovery. That changed this year as we moved away from a reading recovery model. And our literacy support teacher goes into the classroom in every one of our K-2 classrooms to spend time working with small groups. It allows the classroom teacher to see the students with the most need every day. And then that literacy support teacher also does intense pull-out support for the kids who are most at risk in grades 1 and 2. And those are the kids who would have been seen by our reading recovery teacher in the past. But now we're a little bit more efficient with that because we meet with those kids in a group so that she's got time as well to do the in-class piece. And then we're making use of program leaders as well to come in and support us and give PD and figure out how to do the things that we want to do. Change the slide, please. So my direction to teachers at the end of last year was that they didn't need to implement a program. So there's been a lot of talk around the division about the various programs for teaching phonics, as that's the direction that we're moving in. UFly was the big one at the end of last year, and we've kind of not adopted that, but we're using that certainly as one tool within the division, but there are a whole lot more. And I told my teachers that they didn't need to implement a program. They just needed to experiment and to see what works by consciously and purposefully implementing phonics instruction into their literacy program. Our literacy support teacher was directed to work in the K-2 classes, the ways that I said, in the class and out of the class as well. And then in October, the PD Day helped teachers to kind of decide what was important, and it raised questions for them about what the program might look like in their classroom. So then our K-2 teachers had Natalie start coming in and working with them to do demonstration lessons and debriefs with them on ways to incorporate phonics instruction into their day-to-day instruction instead of it just being some sort of a separate class in and of itself. The grades 3 and 4 teachers asked their support services teacher to come in and do a similar piece with them where she did some instruction with them, but then also works with small groups so that they can see more children. The grades 5 and 6 teachers started attending workshops and asked for me to start buying stuff for them to experiment with. And then we all, as I said, went to the November 22nd PD Day on Literacy. I've acquired textbooks for teachers to learn from when they've asked for them. I've asked for phonics, or they've asked for phonics games, and I've purchased them for them so that they can make use of those in the classroom. The grade 5-6 teachers asked me to get magnetic letters and trays so that they could experiment with the hands-on piece with that, and I got those for them. And all of this is continuing. Natalie's doing another 4 sessions with my K-2 teachers. She's bringing something that she's interested in trying out now as well with them and experimenting with them, which I really like. I told you that we've got those 2 middle years teachers who got excited about the stuff in the classroom, and they're meeting on the 21st with Joanna, and we're doing that. So there's a whole lot kind of going on in the building right now. And then I think I've spoken to all of the things on progress here. The only thing that I think I haven't spoken to is that last piece in the bottom right corner. We have an EA working under the direction of a support services teacher to provide phonics instruction for our older students who are struggling to learn the code. And we talk about learning the code as being just learning letter sounds. And so we have older students who aren't quite sure how to decode text. And that EA is working intensively with them, but under the support of a support services teacher. So then, what's the impact so far? And from my perspective, teacher interest and buy-in is high. And I think any time that you're working on a school goal and teachers are developing themselves, that if you can get teacher buy-in, you've got it. And student engagement in all of this seems to be really positive as well. The kids seem to like the direction that we're going. Our baseline data, I said, is from the end of second term, so we'll be comparing that, and I haven't seen it yet. But I did have one of my grade 1-2 teachers tell me that when she compares her Words Their Way assessment from the start of the year till now, that there's been improvement. So I know that there's some concrete data that says we're doing better. The K-2 teachers have said that the small class sizes have certainly helped them with literacy because they're able to meet their more struggling readers more often. The pull-out support is taking care of the reading recovery kids, the former reading recovery kids. And then we'll do a self-reflection at the end of the year, and kids will reflect so that we know how they feel they're doing as well. And then I had a bunch of teacher quotations, and you're perfectly capable of reading through those. I think the piece that's the most important, and it comes out in these and in other quotations that I've got that I didn't put on there, that the most important thing is that our most struggling readers are showing growth. And so that's that very first one up there from a grade 3-4 teacher. But I have that from my support services teacher working with grade 1-2 teachers as well, that our kids who need the most seem to be succeeding the most, and that's a really good thing. Jonathan Cooper talked to the Divisional Literacy Committee and said to us that doing this kind of instruction will help the kids who need it the most, and it won't hurt anyone. The kids who are the best readers might not get a whole lot from it. They might not learn anything new, but they certainly won't be hurt by it. And I like that idea. It's kind of what we were talking about a little bit, Mr. Nichols. And then for next steps, we're going to continue doing what we're doing right now. I'm pretty sure that our next year's school goal will very likely be a continuation of this year's goal. And like I said, I've been surprised before, so I could be reading teachers wrong, but I don't think so. My observations and the feedback that I'm getting from them is that the new literacy direction intrigues them, and they want to learn more about it, and they want to learn how to do it better. And I think that they're going to want to figure out how to make sure that the instruction that they're doing is transferring into reading and writing. That's kind of what the K-2 team is doing right now and how they're trying to get it within their regular lessons. And I think they're going to want to continue with that, figuring out how to incorporate things into just regular teaching. And I think the middle years teachers are really going to want to develop the literacy program that they come up with on Friday. So I suspect that when we meet to do goal setting, that this is where the conversation is going to go. And then we'll see what happens. That is everything I have for you, unless you have questions.
Thanks very much, Dave. Impressive as you switched gears and went with kind of where the flow was. Nice. Any questions for Dave? Trustee Nickel.
This is not a question, maybe, but as you probably know, for the last 200 years, there's been a debate between whole language and look and say, whatever you want to call it, and phonics. And it seems, if you look at history, every 20 to 40 years, they switch. Whole language is in thing, then phonics, then whole language, in thing. So is this just a fad? Because it's been about 40 years since the last time that we had whole language. And always teachers will say, research will tell you this, research will tell you this. But research in 1960 said whole language is really good. Now, are you saying that research is saying phonics is really good? But I'm asking you, do you have a list of these experts who will say that I'll be able to read and see whether, they probably say that whatever they're going to do, they say this is the best thing. But I agree with you that we've been teaching reading for the last 200 years and kids learn to read. So I agree with you. Doesn't matter what method you use, kids are going to read that know how to read. It's struggling readers that have them. But my question is, do you have any expert that I can read so I can educate myself?
Yes, I do, and you're going to talk to Trevor Reed about that because this is, sorry I'm throwing it in your court, but it's a pretty easy one to throw in your court to lob it back. So this is the divisional direction, and what we found was that with reading recovery, the data that we were getting wasn't showing us what we wanted it to show us. And all of the go out and read the experts, all of the studies were reading recovery based discoveries or surveys and tests. And so the data wasn't accurate, and there weren't other bits of data, there weren't other experts who were saying, yeah, this works. It was all reading recovery was saying this works. And if you go back and look at other people, Trevor's going to get you those names, then you will see that there is scientific evidence that shows that teaching kids the code, teaching them how letters and sounds work together, will improve their reading. And I would suggest that, and that's not a Dave Ogren thing, that's a divisional direction, but Dave Ogren would suggest that if we are teaching kids the code and we're teaching them phonics, then we're teaching them how to decode text, how to interpret it. And all of those other things that you're talking about, the whole language piece, those are really, really important as well for comprehension, but that's not going to help them get the words. So we have to have them be able to decode text first to be able to read the words, and then we have to do all those other things too in order for them to understand what it is they're reading. And both of those things are important, but one is not the other, if that makes sense.
That didn't really answer my question. My question is, I want some reading so that I can look at it, because I'll tell you my own experience. 1948, whole language was transitioning to, that's what it was being. But my mother, before I went to grade 1, didn't believe in whole language, she believed in phonics. So I learned phonics at home and whole language at school, which was really good probably. So then when I started teaching in 1961, it went back to phonics. So it went from one, and all my years of teaching, I can see this thing. I would like to see what the experts say, because the experts saying in 2025, how different is that from the expert in 1999? That's what I'd like to know. Could he have that? If you're saying that Trevor has that list, that's all I need to know.
I'll find some actual reading for you, Don. That won't be hard to do. We've got that. I just wouldn't be able to pull it off the top of my head, but it is definitely easy to pull up. The one thing that I will say is the research that is out there is, Dave's answer, was very well informed. It was an excellent answer. I don't think I would really have much to add to it other than maybe just kind of emphasize the research in the area of how kids learn how to read at the beginning stage. This whole idea of phonics and decoding has never deviated. It is, we have changed our practice and we have cycled our practice over the years because we have ignored the research. And so when we talk about things like whole language and enriched tasks and all of these other things, these are things that should be introduced after we have provided students with foundational literacy skills which is the ability to interpret letter symbols and sounds and make those connections and decode text. For the last 200 years, that has not changed. And we as an educational system just choose to drift away from that in cycles, as you have so accurately said. We cycle away from it and we cycle back to it, but the research has never changed. There is one way to teach kids how to learn how to read at the foundational literacy skill stage that has been consistent for hundreds of years. So,
Thanks, Don. Thanks, Trevor. Thanks, Dave, certainly for that. Anything else for Dave? Trustee Boyton.
I loved your presentation. It excites me. I've got a granddaughter in grade 1, and when I read to her, I learned how to sound it out. When I say to her, sound it out, she looks at me like I'm another planet. Now I know I have to say, you got to learn the code. Is that what it is? I got to learn the language before I can teach her. Yeah. Thank you.
Anyone else? Again, Dave, thanks. You know what we would love to is that, you know, you said that April the 21st, your meeting. I think that you talked about goals of decoding fluency and reading comprehension. You know, we'd love to hear what your research is. I mean, not your research, what your data is telling you, certainly about that. We did have a chance to tour the school this year, and we got a pretty good flavor of how things were going. I think that we're in good hands there, Dave. Absolutely. As we can find out more and more about how our kids are doing, we're extremely interested in that. So thanks for sharing. Dave, I'm going to give you one question and give you a chance to, now you've got 9 of us trustees here in front of you. What makes Centennial tick, and what does Centennial need?
Centennial ticks because it's got excellent people. So I feel like that's staff, but that's also students, and I think that's also community. I think we're in a really fortunate place where we've just got really good people all over the place. I think that's what makes us tick. As for what we need, I want to thank you, actually, because I feel like you heard me when I talked about help with whiteboards, smartboards, and so you guys did the 50% piece where you would help out with that, and I appreciate that. I think people is what I would want, but I also recognize that that comes at a cost. So I think that it would be good for all schools, not just Centennial, but for all schools to have an extra EA that wasn't assigned to any particular student. I think there's an awful lot that could be done with that at every single school, but I recognize that that has to come from somewhere. And in addition to liking the support you've given me, I like the decision the board made to lower costs for families as well via the mill rate. So take that as you will. I would like more people, but I recognize that costs money as well.
Right. Thanks very much, Dave. Anyone else want to add anything? Okay, Dave, thanks on behalf of all of us. Thanks for coming in and being to the point of, but certainly, again, did we get a pretty good flavor when we were there? And we got also great to hear where you're headed and with regard to eventually coming back with some data and some classroom observations are important for us to hear, but kudos to you and the work that you're doing. Thank you. All right. Trustees, we are going to move on. We have board minutes, so be it resolved that the board adopt our March 4th regular meeting minutes. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Boyton, seconded by Trustee Dent. Any questions to the minutes? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. Thank you. It passed 9-0. We now have our superintendent's report. Mr. Reid, the floor is yours.
I think at the next meeting I'm going to want to give my superintendent's report before our trustees do share a story, because I think I'm going to highlight many of the same things, and so, but they are worth highlighting, so I'll be brief. Yeah, just a reminder that spring break is fast approaching. You know, we're coming out of the deepest part of winter and the weather's starting to turn nice, and you know, we're looking forward to a break. Of course, a reminder that the last day of classes will be Friday, March the 28th, and we'll see everyone again on Monday, April the 7th. And we hope that all of our students and our families enjoy a safe and enjoyable spring break. With spring break coming up, it's also the end of a couple of our sports seasons, and so I'd sort of flag the basketball and the curling, and I'd also like to flag hockey. And you know, we just had some team successes that I highlighted there for you. Some of our teams playing at provincials for the basketball. I'd like to add the SCI boys hockey team that played in the high school provincials over the weekend as well. And then just, you know, just special note to the Edward Schreier mixed doubles curling team that went to provincials as well and won a bronze medal. So, you know, great for them. This is also just a great time to recognize the fact that none of these activities for students happen without dedicated volunteers and coaches. And so just a good time to say thank you once again to all of our coaches who put in countless hours with our programs and our athletes in our schools. And so we heard it from a couple of trustees. A new activity that seems to be getting some traction across the province is ice fishing. You know, getting kids outdoors in the fresh air and you know, enjoying a different activity. And so we have three things to note. We heard about the Whitemouth students being part of the high school MHSAA, the Manitoba High School Athletic Association, second annual fishing derby. We had students from all 5 of our high schools there, and 1,300 students from across the province were registered. I don't know if that's how many actually attended, but 1,300 did attend. Just as a bit of a side note on that, if I can digress for just a second, my wife had an appointment in the city on that day, and when she got to the corner of 59 and 304, she tried to make a left-hand turn, and she was shocked that there was probably about 25 to 30 school buses lined up at the corner waiting to turn left to head down to Balsam Bay, and she had no idea what was going on. And then she drove by the South Beach Casino parking lot to see another 20 to 30 school buses parked in the casino parking lot, and wondering what on earth is going on that everything, all the school buses were out there, but it was the fishing derby. Yeah. ESS also had a grade 8 ice fishing derby. They went out to Balsam Bay as well. And just thank you to, you know, Cal Duick and Kelly Shayeski for organizing that event. And we already heard, of course, about the Enola School hosting the ice fishing derby for Enola, Dugald, and SMS. And again, thank you to Dana Walmsley for putting that event together for the students from those schools. And then just one other thing to repeat, we've heard it, but just wanted to mention as well, it was new information that was presented to me today, so I didn't get onto my report. But yes, Dugald School is once again hosting the Provincial Esports Championship. And I had never been to an esports event and took the time on a Saturday last year to go down to Dugald to check that out. And I was very impressed. It's maybe not what I was expecting. I've been to lots of volleyball games and basketball games and hockey games and all those things over the years, and I had never been to an esports event, and I didn't know what to expect. It was very good. I was very impressed with just the overall, how the event was set up. And what I really took note of was the collaborative nature, even though it was a competition, the collaborative nature of all the students involved, you know, talking with each other, asking each other for tips, in a competition, sharing with each other in a competition in terms of like their strategy and how they find success. I was just amazed at the collaboration between students from different teams that were supposed to be in competition. And so if you do get the opportunity to pop by, I think it is actually worthwhile seeing an event like that. And so, and then just to wrap up, just a couple pictures. This is the Enola Dugald SMS Ice Fishing Derby. And here's an aerial shot of the high school fishing derby out on Balsam Bay, and so you can see it, quite a number of students there. So yeah, start counting. And so, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Reid. Any questions for Mr. Reid? Okay. The next part on our agenda is our board reporting schedule. So you have that information. And again, it just gives us the idea and a reminder of what's coming at us as we move forward. But thanks. Any questions on the board reporting schedule? Okay. We'll move on to the Secretary Treasurer. Jody, please.
Well, budget's done, so now I can actually get back to my regular day-to-day and help and monitor and support our operations teams. So this report's a little longer than I had in the last report. I won't talk about everything, but I wanted to highlight some important things. The bus order did go in the night that we approved 7 buses to be purchased. Shortly after that, we received notice that Thomas Bus, one of the manufacturers, has implemented a price increase as of February 24th. We purchased gas running buses, so we buy our buses from Bluebird. So they have not come out with communication on increasing their fees or anything of that nature, but a lot of it has to do with the tariffs or the concern of tariffs and the cost of some of these back and forth pieces that are moving from Canada into the States to manufacture these buses. Most of the manufacturers are U.S. and so we do depend on this. So where Bluebird, though, has not come back and said there's a price increase. So we're fortunate that way. We feel that we submitted our notice as soon as we could. So if there's any increases, hopefully that's after our tender went, or our request went in. So other things that's going on in transportation, we are trying to drum up more spare bus drivers. So we are going on doing some driver information sessions, and we have upcoming recruitments in Lac Du Bonnet and St. Clement. So we're hoping that we can drum up more interest. We're going to meet, or I'm going to be meeting with the transportation manager and come up with some other ideas that we can get some attraction on that, on growing our recruitment. Other things that's taking place. In finance, we are welcoming Rachel Blair to the finance payroll officer position. She's going to be starting March 31st. ICT has been pretty busy, and one thing I really wanted to highlight is when we develop software or we purchase software, we want software to integrate and talk to each other. So ICT, some places, they will outsource and hire a third-party consultant to build some interfaces. But I just want to note and kind of say congratulations or recognize the good work that Gord Tulloch does. So what he took on the endeavor of creating an interface that Student Support Services Software Clever would talk with PowerSchool to allow the fields to talk and create useful reports. Now I'm hoping the feedback from Lars and his staff is going to say, yes, this stuff is working. But the idea that the ICT department actually built it within house says that these are the skill sets that the staff that we have can do, rather than hiring somebody else and trying to create something and hopefully they can get it right. We have staff that are using open source tools that we can do that. So I think that's a great accomplishment to that department. And of course, if it's not right the first time, they'll work with the Student Support Services to get there where we need to go. But that's a pretty interesting challenge for them. So I want to say thanks to Gord and his group for trying. And maintenance, we're still on the search for a maintenance manager. So I've been still wearing the hat part-time for maintenance. But I want to say thank you to Derek Ryback for coming back. After his quick and brief retirement, we bring him back a couple days a week, and he's helping me do some of the footwork where I am in the office helping out other departments and supporting them. I also am working with head custodians and Roxanne Cook getting things done. So where Derek is my eyes and ears on the ground, and our plan is we're going to do a little field trip where we're going to go check out some schools next week so we can get some things that I have questions on, and he really wants to show me. So hopefully we'll fill that maintenance position soon, though.
Thanks, Jody. Any questions for Jody? Okay. We'll move forward then, Jody. Thanks. So we have board business. We have our grade 9 to 12 credit attainment, and that's Mr. Reed.
So yeah, if you read the report, this is something that I would like to bring back a revised version of this report in the future. I presented in the fall. didn't really take too much time to dig into it in the fall, but this time around spent a little bit more time with it and actually found it a little bit difficult to interpret whether or not our students were being successful just by looking at the total number of credits earned. And so as I tried to come up with some interpretation, for the board on the success of our high school students in terms of how they were attaining their credits, I was challenged to do that, and so I sort of figured that if I was challenged to do it, the trustees might be challenged as well. So, and just what I'm sort of talking about there is that, when we look at, I'll look at the grade 9, which is kind of limited in its data because it's just first semester data, right? And so we know that each of our schools offers a different number of credits to our grade 9 students in the first semester. And so we come over here and we see that 28 kids earned 5 credits. Well, that doesn't tell us if those are kids in Powerview that took 5 and earned 5, or if they were kids at SCI that took 4 and earned 4 and then also got a volunteer credit on top of that. When we look at the number of students that earned 3 credits, well, were they registered in 4 but only passed 3? Were they only registered in 3 and passed all 3? So I think there's another layer to this report that we can bring back for the trustees to actually look at the percentage of credits earned or a success rate of our students in each of our grade levels. And so I presented the data here just as it has been in the past, but I would like to bring this report back at a meeting in April or May and just have another look at this data again.
Yeah, thanks, Trev. Anyone questions for Trev? Yeah, Trev, when I took a look at it to try to look and again, a lot of us will always want to go ahead and say, well, how is our school doing? Those kind of things. We don't see that, but trying to figure out is that if we're always looking for improvement, this data really isn't helping, and so you do need to dig down a little bit, but thank you for that. Anything else for Trev? We'll look forward to it when you bring it back. Our long service and retirement gala, Mr. Reed.
Yeah, just some information there. It's hard to believe that we're coming up to the end of March and we're already talking about year-end events, but I guess that's the schedule that we're on. So we of course have our retirement and long service awards every year. Last year there was a slight modification to the evening, just in terms of more control of the evening with our MCs to have a little bit more equal recognition of all of our recipients. The feedback that we got that evening and the days afterwards is that format was very well received. So I think we'll be moving forward with that format again this year. So we have our traditional planning committee that's identified in the report, but as always, we would really enjoy having some trustee input on some trustee voice on that planning committee. So if there are 1 or 2 trustees who would like to be part of that, we would welcome you to that. We'll probably start our planning meetings, which will be a commitment of 2 to 4 meetings starting after spring break leading up to the event in early June.
So we're looking for 1 or 2 trustees to join. Possibilities. Dustin is interested. Anyone else? Dawn's interested. Lorraine's interested. Let Lorraine go. Dustin and Dawn. Dustin and Lorraine. Is that good for us? So we can appoint Dustin and Dawn, heads nodding. Okay, so we're good. I think we've got Trustee Dent and Trustee Boyce, and then I'll join you. Good. Thank you. A spring DPAC meeting.
Yeah, so we've got the date set coming up on April 24th, and of course we need to plan that event. Again, just looking for the board to identify which trustees would like to be part of the planning team for that spring DPAC meeting, and I'd be happy to work with them to make sure we plan another successful and engaging events for our parent advisory councils.
Any takers? Trustee Nichol? Trustee Rowan? I might be involved too, but let's put officially Trustee Nichol and, go ahead.
I think that would sorry, are you talking about the DPAC event or the planning? For the planning, I think we could probably have a Teams option for that. For the DPAC event, we did have a Teams option. Don't know if it worked that well last time given the interactive nature of the evening, but certainly for the planning we can make sure we include a Teams option for that. So
I think that by teams, Trustee Nicol and Trustee Rowan, are you good to go? I might jump in, but I think we got Trustee Rowan and Trustee Nicol. Are we good? Heads around? Any others? Okay, so I think you've got your two for sure and maybe somebody in the bullpen. Okay, thank you for that. Spring Trustee School Tours, Mr. Reid.
Yeah, so just identified as on the report, we had Sarah look at some calendars and we came up with Friday the May 9th as a potential date. So if that date doesn't work for any of the trustees, please let Sarah know as soon as possible so we can reschedule if necessary. 3 sites remaining to be visited, Hofer Colony, Grafton Colony, and Enola School, and that May 9th date does work for those 3. So again, once we confirm that the 9th works, or if we have to choose another date, we will send out a detailed schedule of start times and locations in order and where we're having lunch to all of the trustees.
May 9th, possibilities? It won't fit everybody? What's that? Sure. Show of hands who can make the 9th? Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I can't make it. I won't be here, but good. Looks like we got the majority. So Sarah, it looks like May the 9th, we're good to go. Perfect. And again, if Alicia, if you can make it, great. And again, some of you said maybe, but good for us to go. Thanks. Question? You have a, oh, sorry. Trustee Harris.
So there's only 3 sites there. Is that going to take all day, or do we have time for a 4th one somewhere that, even though we've been to all of them, is there a 4th one that to fill the day up, or is there a lot of travel required to get to those 3? I don't know the answer. There's a lot of travel, or?
I think we should probably go to about 5 or 6 sites that day and go into about 6 o'clock. That would be a real good thing. Thanks.
Yeah, I think what we'd be looking at is we'd be looking at probably Grafton and Enola in the morning, and that would fill our morning, a lunch stop along the way, and then we've actually got to head from the south side of Beausejour to the north side of Beausejour, so we probably have about 45 minutes of travel in there somewhere to Hofer Colony in the afternoon. And so we can map it out if there's time for a 4th site, if we want to end up back in Beausejour, and we can go from there. What's that? Oh. I can ask if that can be part of it for those that are interested, and so, yeah.
Sorry, I just didn't know where I should know, but I didn't know. And it traveled, if there's a lot of travel required, then obviously a 4th one's not going to work.
All right, so you know what, we'll also put out some information. Trustee Smith is asking for potential tour of the colony as well. I think that we'll ask trustees about that, and trustees can get back to us, Sarah, when we do that. So I think that you've got the 3 planned as to where you go, and then the trustees can let you know if they're available for a tour as to that is. Thanks, Trev, for that. So MSBA roundtable topic discussion. Can you put that up, Trevor, on the board? Trustees, a reminder is that when we meet with Region 3, there are 4 questions that trustees are being talked to or going to talk about. And the question is, what measures is your board implementing to recruit trustees for the upcoming 2026 municipal elections? I don't think it's municipal elections, it should be trustee elections, right? It's during the municipal elections, but it's trustee elections. And I guess the question is, that's probably not an answer for these guys, it's an answer for us as to what we are doing. And if anybody wants to jump in, because historically we haven't done a whole lot in this area. We had a session one time out in Springfield, and we had a number of people come out. There was about 17 or 18 people that came out to a presentation that was in Springfield at the church, at the where?
Yes, correct. There was a training session put on by the Chamber of Commerce, Springfield Chamber of Commerce. Shandy Walls reached out to myself and the superintendent asking for details, and that's where the information was shared. The Chamber took on a bit of that assistance, getting more people interested in educating as well. And then there were debates that they provided and were on YouTube. So that was kind of neat that everybody could see and watch, and thanks to a partnership with the Chamber of Commerce.
I think there was one time as well, as did we not do something out with the Chamber with regard to an information session about being a trustee? Did we not hold it, pardon me? At Pine Ridge Hollow? Okay. Anything else? So I think that it happened, it's happened in the South. I don't think that we've happened in some of our other constituents. But I mean, to give you the honest. So again, as a board, we haven't really talked about that yet, but that's one of the questions that's coming up. I'll move on to the next question. How is your board supporting mental health, and what specific resources or divisional initiatives are currently in place? What I've done is that I've asked Lars to kind of, hey Lars, can you give us a little bit of heads up so that as we go, do you know what, these are some of the things that are going on? So I'm going to give you a quick, Lars, can you fill us in on that, please?
Yeah, and I can provide you a written summary of this because there's a lot of pieces. You won't remember it all. I'll run through it quickly. The snapshot. Yeah, but one layer of it would be clinical support. So our social workers, psychologists, occupational therapy actually plays an unexpectedly bigger role in mental health and well-being of students, and our mental health worker. They're in schools addressing and supporting mental health school-wide and on a student-by-student basis. Another level of thinking about what we are doing is in the area of professional development. So there have been several portions of student services meetings. It was a big topic at a recent SELT meeting, and it has been a recurring item at our clinician meetings for their self-care. That is loaded with basic mental health information that spreads throughout the system, as well as trauma-informed care and general mental health topics. They're frequently revisiting that. We have used the Healthy Schools model for years. It has 6 pieces. Active living, healthy eating, substance use, sexual reproduction health. Those are all embedded in the phys ed and health curriculum. Kids get that through curriculum, and it's embedded in what they do. Mental health is one of those pillars, so I talked about clinicians and PD. Mr. Ogren this evening had mentioned that a previous school goal of theirs was around mental health. Lac du Bonnet has had a very specific mental health goal. SCI has had a very specific mental health goal. So schools will judge their needs and student needs and sometimes pick those as very specific goals. And then a final pillar of the Healthy Schools model is injury prevention. You mentioned earlier today the ASSIST training. We have now at least 2 people in every school site with ASSIST training. So that would be considered a gatekeeper model, where somebody in the school, now we have at least 2 in each school, that if something comes up around concern about suicide, they know that there's a couple of staff to go to, they're trained with how to manage that. And our clinician team is putting the final touches on a revised procedure for addressing incidents of suicidal ideation and how schools can respond. So that'll be reviewed with CELT, and that's a form of mental health support. So that's the brief synopsis of all those things. I can put that in a organized written response for you guys to take.
So I don't think that it needs to be an in-depth thing, but I think something bullet form for trustees trustees do need it by Thursday, is that then they'll be able to go ahead and do some sharing. But thanks for that general information. Any questions for Lars?
Trustee Smith asked about if our new funding would result in any additional mental health needs. As I'm visiting all the schools, they're getting the message that there are additional funds. Once we go through all the preliminary decisions about the students who are identified that need supports, they are currently thinking about, well, what would our school use? So they can absolutely choose that if that's an area that they think that they need more support in.
So we good with that? Okay, question number 3. What climate initiatives are being actioned by your school board and its schools? Well, I just asked Trevor, I said, Trev, what are we doing? And he kind of, hey, it's what we're doing with our buses, it's what we're doing with our LED lighting, it's what we're doing with some of our construction practices, it's what we're doing with some of our recycling. Anybody else want to add to that? Trev, do you want to add to that? Yeah, Don?
Well, Whitemouth grows their own garden, so they use that stuff, whatever they grow during the year, they use that for the school nutrition program, which means they don't have to go and transport from Winnipeg, whatever it is, so they are saving a little bit of fossil fuel. It may be only a little bit, but that's one of the initiatives that they've got. They are heavily into, I don't know how many raised beds they have, but they have quite a few number of raised beds.
Maybe just to expand a little bit on the construction practices, that would include, anytime we do a building envelope, the insulation standards and the construction standards that we put in place for energy efficient buildings. It would also just be things like our automation of our controls, where we can remotely, program temperatures in buildings, drop them in the off hours, raise them when students come back in, and so when anytime we do an HVAC project and we automate controls, that provides another layer of climate accountability into the system. So,
Thanks. How we doing? Are we okay with this so far? All right. Move on. And the last question talks about how's your board integrating AI intelligence into its operations and strategic planning? Well, every time we have an agenda setting, we just push the AI button and it kind of does it all for us. So, no, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Alicia. Anybody want to add to that about how our board is integrating our artificial intelligence? I know that we're trying to get smart on it, and so there's some PD stuff that's coming around that we have some opportunities to look to. Anybody else want to add?
I do know that a lot of our teachers are taking every opportunity to learn more about it. I do know there were discussions about it at our the PD session that we all attended earlier in the fall, I believe. So I do know that our teachers are keeping an eye on it and taking every opportunity they can to learn more about it. So I do know that the division is on their toes. So that's all I can say right now.
So part of it is that if we're talking about is there a board integrating any AI stuff? We're not. Part of it is we're looking to collect, listen to what others, but at Sunrise, do we have an AI initiative? No, we don't. However, let's get smart on it as to how things are going, and if somebody else has got a good idea, let us know. Yeah, so let's get smart on it as to what it is. But those are topics that are coming up that we'll be going ahead and doing, and I'm sure that as I chair the meeting, Dustin, I'm going to say, and how is Sunrise going with AI? And I'm just going to point right to you, Dustin, so you can figure that out. Okay. Is that good? Is there anything else for anybody? That's kind of where we are with those questions? Okay. When we're around in round tables, is there anything else that we want to get out from other divisions? Is there anything else that you want to know? Okay. Well, yeah.
mean, you read papers and we get emails sometimes saying that, you know, some boards are having issues, they've got to lock their doors. I would like to hear some of their challenges that they're having, because we're not seeing that here. And maybe it's going to come our way. How do they deal with that? How do you lock doors to the public? You know, I find that bizarre. I think that, you know, you should be listening to the public and getting ideas and try to solve them, not lock your doors. But I'm just wondering, like, at what point do you have to get to where you actually have to lock doors? I would like to hear some of those boards that are having those huge challenges.
So what I will suggest is that I will get a couple of trustees that are on some of those boards. Certainly, you know, I'll introduce you, and you can listen to some of the conversations that they're having. I'm hearing about it at MSBA. As one of the directors is on one of those boards, and the challenges that they have, because as a board, they're not, I think we're very lucky that we're working very well together. But there are some very different, so there's some very fragmented boards where, hey, we want to go ahead and do this, and they're very, very different. And I'm not sure that, I'm not sure, sometimes I'm hearing it's the loudest person around the table that is controlling a lot of the stuff that's going on. But again, I think that I'll introduce you to some of the boards, and you can ask that question, or we can ask the question generally if we have some time.
Well, it's not always the public that's causing the problems. It's their board itself that's having issues, right? Okay.
It's different points of view. It's, you know, it's when you get to, we want to ban books, and people, you know, start getting, you know, excited about it, those kind of things. Absolutely. Okay, thanks for doing that together. So 8.6 is Springfield Collegiate Institute band trip. So be it resolved, the board approve in principle the SEI band trip to Banff, April 9th to 13th, 2025, in lieu of the previously approved trip to Kansas City on April the 11th, the 15th, subject to superintendent's final approval. Then move in a seconder. Moved by trustee Rowan and seconded by trustee Dent. Any questions to this? Go ahead.
I just want to make a comment. I want to applaud Greg Crow for making that pivot just in the current climate that we're in, to kind of recognize that maybe it's an opportune time to explore other areas in Canada, and providing that same opportunity for our students in their band program. I mean, I can imagine the amount of work that it would that had gone into to getting the trip to Kansas City. So equal amount of work, I'm sure, to adjust the trip to go to Banff. So just want to applaud those efforts.
Any other comments? So just one quick other thing. MSBA at our meeting, we did ask about, there was a feeler around about how many divisions are now banning trips to the States. It's not a ton, but there are a few. And it'll be very interesting over the next few days as you talk to colleagues as to what people's positions are, but I think that you're going to see more and more of it. Okay, so we have the motion on the floor. Any more questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. And it passed 9-0. Thank you. An interactive display and projectors. So I'm going to put the motion on the floor, and then we'll have a discussion. So be it resolved that the board approve the interactive display and projectors RFP be awarded to the Inland Audiovisual for BendQ interactive displays and to Evolution Audiovisual for the projectors. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by trustee Boytson and seconded by trustee Rowan. Any question to this or anything that you want to? Go ahead, trustee Nicol.
I probably should have done my homework, but it is a Canadian company.
That's a great question. I do not have that answer right now.
The company we're purchasing from would be a Canadian company. We would need to take an extra step to see if the products were manufactured outside of Canada, but the companies that we're contracting with for the purchase are Canadian companies.
Any other questions? Trustee Boyton?
It's not exactly the motion, but it was included in the information that came with this motion. Just regarding the 50-50 cost sharing, is there going to be some leniency towards the small schools? Because if they have to pay 50-50, that's a hardship on them.
Absolutely, yeah. That was some of the things that we've looked at and worked on an internal process, is to consider the small schools. So our colonies, Hazel Ridge, those schools, we recognize they may not have the same flexibility or the same volume of dollars that are available to them. So yeah, there's consideration in the procedure.
Anyone else? Good question, Lorraine. Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. And it passed 9-0. Thank you. EBS Bus Safety Loop. Be it resolved that the board direct the superintendent or designate to work with the town of Beausejour to find a safe solution for pedestrians when using Joyce Street. We need a mover and a seconder. Moved by trustee Smith and seconded by trustee Harris. Any questions to this? Trustee Smith?
Just a note that it'll involve the town opening their one of their bylaws, so it will be something that they'll have to do.
Thank you. Anyone else? So again, just for the people that are listening online, we did have some information from Secretary Treasurer Thiessen with regard to concerns, and you've got a committee together, and this is us continuing on with that to find, to work with the town to find the best solution for the issue. Did you want to add anything to that?
No, well, in the report, we identified some of the areas of safety concerns. A lot of this is revolving around safety concerns about our students, the bus loop, the congestion around there. There's not a safe walking area designated along Joyce Avenue or Joyce Street, so that causes a concern. We have foot traffic in the area, and their area is growing with new development, so we can only foresee that there's going to be more traffic in the area, more foot traffic, and right now there's no safe sidewalk, so we'd like to make sure that the families and the residents that live in the area have a safe area to walk. It does get very busy in the mornings for drop-off and pick-up with the school buses, and we want to identify that we can make our students go to school and have a safe area to walk and be part, with new growth, make that a safe area of the community. So there is some recommendations recognizing either construction of a fence, definitely a sidewalk. That's where we need to work with the town of Beausejour. Look at options for special parking or event parking or no parking. So working with the town on the best solutions, and with that area consistently growing more, we can see that a bush area was pushed, and we know that there will be new construction again. That area is growing, and we'd like to address the concerns.
Thanks. Any questions on that? Thanks for the update. Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. And it passed 9-0. Thank you for that. Moving on to committee reports, we have our policy committee. We have policy committee minutes. Trustee Rowan, you're the chair. Anything that you want to add from the policy committee?
Yeah, so minutes are there for review. We did look at policies 16, 17, and 18 on finances, audit, and assets. However, we have asked the Finance Committee to review these policies. After Finance has their next meeting, we will review their feedback and potentially bring some of those policies forward at that time. Additionally, you'll notice we included suspended policy number 21, mandatory proof of COVID-19 vaccination status or COVID testing. This was for information only. Last meeting, we approved policy 6. Part of this change in that policy included a change to section 6.6 on archiving suspended policies. And that section reads as follows: a policy that has been suspended will remain in the board policy manual with the date of suspension listed. A watermark notification will be placed on the document indicating it has been suspended. Given this policy was approved last meeting, I just wanted to bring policy 21 to the board's attention, showcasing the fact that the watermark has now been added.
Thanks, Melissa. Any questions for Melissa? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Thank you for that. Finance Committee, Trustee Nicol, you're the chair. Anything that you want to add to from the Finance Committee?
Not really, except that we did move the meeting from Tuesday to this Thursday to March 27th. So there's nothing new since that, but we will be looking at those three policies that's coming from Policy Committee.
Thanks, Trustee Nicol. 8:15 is our Sunrise Education Foundation Committee. So our committee did meet, and there's information there that you've been able to go ahead and read. The committee is bringing forward 3 motions from there. Anybody from the committee want to add anything before we go to those motions? Okay. So the first one is the Gillis School Playground Project. Be it resolved that the board ratify the Gillis School Playground Project for the Sunrise Education Foundation as mentioned by the Sunrise Education Foundation Committee. So the committee is recommending this. So it's moved by Trustee Harris and seconded by Trustee Nicol. Just so you know, the 3 people that are on the committee is Trustee Harris, Trustee Nicol, and myself. Any questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. And it passed 9-0. Thank you. So the Duggold Playground Project, be it resolved that the board ratify the Ecole Duggold Playground Project for the Sunrise Education Foundation as recommended by the Sunrise Education Foundation Committee. Moved by Trustee Nicol and seconded by Trustee Rowland. Any questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. And it passed 9-0. Thank you. And then the Oakbank Elementary School Playground Project. Be it resolved that the board ratify the Elementary School Playground Project for the Sunrise Education Foundation as recommended by the Sunrise Education Foundation's Committee. Moved by Trustee Dent and seconded by Trustee Rowan. Any questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. Thank you. Passed 9-0. So professional development, as we've talked, is that there's the MSBA convention that is running over Thursday and Friday. It should be a great. Sorry. I jumped over ad hoc land planning committee. Sorry, I would never forget your committee, Trustee Rowan. Apologies. Is there anything that from the land planning ad hoc committee?
Yeah, so trustees should have received an email today from Sarah. We are hoping to meet with the RMF Springfield on May 15th. It would be fantastic if as many trustees as possible could attend this. It's my understanding that we will have all council members from the RMF Springfield in attendance, and we will be hosting it here. Thanks, Sarah, for your help.
Thanks. Yes, and we did get that. Thank you very much for the work about us getting together. And I can tell you is that it is one of the things that we met today, that Mr. Reed and I met with the press, certainly, about the work that the land planning ad hoc committee was doing with regard to development and growth in the Springfield area. So thank you. So there's nothing more from there. Thanks. Professional development, so MSBA convention, as again this Thursday and Friday, all the information is there. Reminder that we have a capsule conference that's taken forward, and we have a couple of trustees going into Banff, and then a reminder that continues on with professional development about the CSBA Congress on July 2nd to the 5th. That's information. There isn't anything from the Divisional Financial Summary. board correspondence, nice to know information. Thanks for putting this all together, Sarah, for a bunch of information that's there. Appreciated. We have upcoming meetings on April the 8th, April the 8th, and April 22nd. There's information there about a press release. Jody, 8:14, questions from the public. Do we have any questions that have come in from the public?
No, I'll quiet.
Okay. I think that we can probably do these items that came from in-camera. I think we can do that. I do know that we need to quickly go back to in-camera, but we can probably do these motions, correct? So 17.1, be it resolved that the board offer the term position of Richland School Principal effective March 24th as recommended by the superintendent. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by trustee Boydson and seconded by trustee Dent. Any questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. Thanks, it passed 9-0. 17.2 is that be it resolved that the board offer the permanent position of Heartland School Principal effective September the 2nd, 2025, as recommended by the superintendent. I need a mover, so moved by trustee Boydson and seconded by trustee Rowan. Any questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. It passed 9-0. Thank you. And be it resolved that the board offer the permanent position of Ecole Parview School Principal effective September the 2nd, 2025, as recommended by the superintendent. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by trustee Smith and seconded by trustee Rowland. Any questions to it? Hearing none, we'll vote. And it passed 9-0. Thank you for that. I do not think that we have any other items that'll be there, but we do need to move back into in-camera very briefly. But I do not believe that we're going to have anything else, correct? So I think that we can adjourn our meeting, correct? We're able to adjourn our meeting? All right, so we're going to be adjourned. Thank you. And we'll go right into our in-camera meeting.